Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Priscilla Casper. January 8th, 2011. It's a day that changed our city forever and one that's forever etched into the memory of our community. A Saturday morning like any other until at 10:10, 19 people were shot by a lone gunman as they gathered at a Safeway store on the corner of Ina and Oracle in northwest Tucson. They were there to speak with their Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. 6 people were killed and 13 others wounded while participating in a fundamental act of democracy. But what happened afterward is what makes Tucson so special. The community banded together and embraced one another in the aftermath of the attack. Makeshift memorials, crosses, Tucson's way of rallying around the victims and survivors to comfort their families. And now a permanent memorial, 10 years in the making, a tribute of remembrance and a tribute of hope. Every year we take time to remember that day in 2011, and for the first time this year, the ceremony won't have an audience because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in just a few moments, we will head out live to the January 8th memorial happening in downtown. You'll hear from Ron Barber, our former congressman, and the president of the January 8th Foundation, who he himself was shot and survived during that shooting. Well, then, the ceremonial ringing of the bell for each of the victims and survivors, that will be happening at exactly 10:10 this morning. Now let's head over to that ceremony starting right now.
Freezing. Oh! Order. Ah! Right. Order.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this, the 10th anniversary of that morning in Tucson when 19 people were shot at Congresswoman Gabby Giffords' Congress on Your Corner. My name is Ron Barber and I am the president of the January 8th Memorial Foundation. Before I share my thoughts about that horrific day, I want to thank the Honor Guard who posted colors today. They represent the first responders whose departments were at the site of the shooting and whose actions helped save lives. We appreciate what you and your colleagues did that fateful day and for presenting the flags of our country and our state this morning. 6 people were murdered on January 8, 2011. and 13 were wounded. The shooting began as an attempted assassination of Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. After shooting Gabby, the gunman went on a rampage and shot her constituents and her staff. In 19.6 seconds, he discharged 33 bullets. In a few minutes, Chaplain Joe Fitzgerald of UMC, as it was called at the time, will deliver a blessing and read the names of the victims and survivors as a bell is rung in their honor. Chaplain Fitzgerald and others at UMC ministered to us in our times in the hospital and in ICU. We're holding this annual ceremony at the newly completed memorial in El Presidio Park next to the restored historic Pima County Courthouse. The people in our community were shocked and in total disbelief that such a terrible thing could happen here. This is not who we are. We were determined that the shooting would not define us. What happened in the days, the weeks, the months, and the years after the shooting, that defines who we are. Immediately following the shooting, people from our community spontaneously stood up 3 memorials. They were at the Safeway where the shooting took place, at Gabby's office, and on the front lawn of the University Medical Center, where the most seriously wounded were taken for surgery and treatment. Those memorials provided a space where we could mourn those who died and offer up healing energy for those who were wounded. And now we have a permanent memorial, and this is where we are conducting this remembrance today. The memorial is completed and will be open to the public when the pandemic has subsided and the people can visit safely. The memorial was designed by G. Salette Architectural Firm and was constructed by the Chase Building Team. Pima County staff and County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry have been wonderful partners in this effort. The memorial would not have been possible without their assistance and support. The first contribution to the memorial came from then Tucson Council member Regina Romero, who is now our mayor. We are grateful to the hundreds of individuals, foundations, and companies who made financial contributions to our fundraising drive. That campaign was led by honorary chairs Congresswoman Giffords and Jim Click Jr. On behalf of the Foundation Board, I want to thank everyone who supported our campaign. And I also want to thank the members of the Foundation Board of Directors, volunteers all. They have been dedicated to the completion of the memorial. We call the memorial the Embrace, which is what people here and all over the nation did with all of us who were there that day. The symbols on the walls of the memorial represent the lives of the victims and survivors. There are also symbols here that recognize and honor the first responders who came to our aid that morning. There are 6 gardens here, one for each person who died on January 8th. Surrounding the memorial, there are 32 lanterns on which symbols representing the many challenges and struggles that were met and overcome by the people of this region can be seen. They honor the first people who lived on this land and their descendants, the O'odham Nation. They represent the resilience of the people of this place that they have exhibited over decades and centuries. This is a time each year when the emotions of that horrific day come back in full force to each of us who are at the Congress on your corner. Today, my inbox and my phone was filled up with messages and caring and love from the many people who remember the pain and grieving that took place 10 years ago. These messages remind us of the compassion and the love that we have felt in the years since the shooting. I'd like to close with a poem about resilience. It goes like this. There is nothing beautiful about the damage and the pain, the heartache that human beings face in their lives. What is beautiful is their strength, their resilience, their fortitude, as they display an ocean of courage, where they push through their harm and suffering and build something beautiful, brand new, against all odds. This was written by Nikita Gill. And I have to say, this poem sums up what we've seen in the survivors and the victims' families. And we thank you all for your support as we've gone through this last decade. Thank you for watching us today.
As we gather in this sacred space, let us become still within ourselves and become aware of God's presence with us and within us. Loving God, creator and source of all life, great physician and wonderful healer, divine nurse who soothes the wounds of our hearts and our souls. Today we gather once again to remember the events of 10 years ago that profoundly changed our Tucson community. So many things have changed in the last 10 years. So much has changed just in the last year. Loving God, we are in need of ongoing healing. We pray for healing from COVID-19 in our city, our country, and our world. We pray for healing of our nation and an end to violence, the kind of violence that brings us here this morning. We pray for kindness and civil discourse. We pray for all those who still live with the physical, emotional, and spiritual wounds from that morning. We pray that our Tucson community continues to become stronger and kinder. We give thanks for all those who have persevered over the years to make this memorial a reality. Lord our God, bless this site, this memorial. It reminds us and challenges us to be people of kindness and of peace. We pray for all those suffering from any form of mental illness, that they may find comfort, support, and healing. We give thanks for all first responders and all those our doctors and nurses who provided care for those victims. And we pray for all those traumatized by gun violence in the last year. We will be ringing this bell today 19 times as a symbol of unity, of hope, of kindness, and of peace. Once again, we remember the 13 people who were wounded that day. Bill Badger, Congressman Ron Barber, Kenneth Darushka, James Eric Fuller, Randy Gardner, Congresswoman Gabrielle Gabby Giffords, Susan Heilman, George Morris, Mary Reed, Pamela Simon, Mavenel Stoddard, Jim Tucker, Kenneth Veeder, and we ring the bell for the 6 people who died that day. Christina Taylor Green, Dorothy Dot Morris, Judge John Roll, Phyllis Schneck, Dorwin Stoddard, and Gabriel Gabe Zimmerman. God bless Tucson, and God bless America.
Welcome to what we call the warehouse, which is to house temporarily the materials that were left at the 3 temporary sites after the January 8 shootings.
You know, you could go hide in a hole, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Live your life in a way that if something does happen, you can be reasonably happy, reasonably proud of the life that you've led.
Many spiritual items, but certainly by no means all spiritual items. Some people, somebody left some baseballs. One little child left his rubber ducky.
Woke up one day, got a phone call, and learned my son was missing forever.
911, there's a shooting at Safeway. I'm at Northville. There's a shooting at Safeway. I have a person shot here on the floor in the wall.
Your training kicks in. You just kind of go on autopilot, and all your training just kind of takes over.
We made our way in. We came into the backside of Casa Sadobis Plaza. I put my ID badge on.
Every round he fired hit somebody.
Everything happened in an instant. I initially didn't know if the gunman would circle back and finish people off.
I took 3 more steps quickly over to where my wife was. I grabbed her and fell to the ground, got on top of her, covered her as completely as I could because he was just firing continuously.
To see 19 people shot and down, I just felt like somebody hit me in the chest with a sledgehammer.
I was actually taking my son for his first golf lesson, and we had just finished up and we're in the golf shop, and simultaneously I got a phone call from Dr. Freeze, who was calling me to let me know they had a mass casualty and that I needed to be available for that.
I went for a run, and I was about 5-10 minutes into my run. I looked down at the phone and I saw that there were multiple shootings coming in.
And there's this very sinking feeling you get when you're driving in to try and save someone and you think it's too late. Now, I had a quick remedy. I just called up my resident team and said, "What's going on?" They said, "The patient's on the table. She's doing fine." So I was able to dispel that, but you can imagine that's a tough feeling, and that's a tough feeling for supporters and family when they got the same news as well.
Did nothing extraordinary in the operating room. We applied general principles that neurosurgeons apply.
for survivable gunshot injuries to the brain. We would know she's doing okay because she would purposefully be playing with her husband's wedding ring. That's how we knew she was still purposeful very early on. Everybody gave their 100% in terms of their effort and their resources. The whole hospital bent over backwards to make sure that everything was met.
I think it's important for us to also focus, though, on the extraordinary courage that was shown during the course of these events. A 20-year-old college student who ran into the line of fire to rescue his boss. A wounded woman who helped secure the ammunition that might have caused even more damage. The citizens who wrestled down the gunman. Part of what I think that speaks to is the best of America.
The point of a memorial like this is that anytime something large and traumatic happens, the community needs to go through a process.
Hello, this is Gabby Giffords. I miss you. I missed Tucson. The mountains, blue skies, even the heat. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting better.
When you ask how it feels and if you remember it, yeah, in some ways it feels like it was just yesterday. So
I don't have the answers, but boy, there's so many bright people out there who you'd think could come together and say, hey, let's figure this out.
It reinforced what a small and tight community feel there can be in a crisis and how the town came together. And that's really encouraging.
It's a great privilege to do what we do in neurosurgery, to restore health and on occasion save lives.
I'm not surprised at all that the community rose up to greet this horrific event with so many expressions of sadness, depression, but love and hope and prayer. It's just amazing.
It's the duty of each individual to see what's happened and to process an event in the way they wish to process it. And for those who are here in Tucson, I think that we, in contrast to the rest of the country and maybe in the rest of the world, had the real gift of seeing what can happen in the immediate wake of a tragedy.
As a community, we were all affected that day. So it'd be a wonderful way to be able to celebrate that and recognize what happened that day, and in a positive way.
I'm here at the newly completed January 8th Memorial, a place for remembrance and reflection, a place where Tucsonans and indeed people from all around the world can come to experience and reflect. When you visit the January 8th Memorial, you will be in the embrace of tragedy and healing. There are many sayings that you have to embrace the bad in order to recognize the good. And as you look at the names on this memorial, as you look at the stones and the symbols and all the gardens and things that were so pertinent to the people involved that day, you will feel that embrace. Tucson welcomes you to this special spot.
And please join us here at News 4 Tucson all day long as we reflect and remember. And be sure to join us at 6:30 tonight for the Embrace Special, where we will take you inside the Embrace Memorial and give you a behind-the-scenes look at all the symbols and the intention of everything within the memorial. And I'll see you back here at noon.